What up, dear listeners? On today's episode of Gatecrashers, we take you to the Minor Threats universe for the first time in audio format. I know. Hold your applause. I can't hear you as this is a recording. Anyway, our story begins where many classic tales do, with two losers trying to make money to achieve some pipe dream. Sometimes it's not the powers that make the hero, but their fighting spirit. But actually, it's usually the powers that get you the slot on the team roster, merchandising deals, and movie tie-ins. Our two losers, heroes, are Bach and Parvis Canis. During a get-rich-quick scheme, Bach, which stands for blood alcohol concentration, fell into a distillery vat where he and his bros were trying to make whiskey. Now he has the power to create whiskey from thin air. Meanwhile, his partner, Parvis Canis, which means tiny dog in Latin, has the ability to talk and control dogs. But only dogs in around 40 pounds. So, I hope the thought of 40 corgis bum-rushing you makes you quiver in your boots, Stickman, because they bite ankles. Anyway, let's tune in as these idiots try to get their big break to get on the Continuum's radar by stopping a bank robbery.
You ready for this, bro? This is our time to shine.
Please stop calling me bro. We've been dating for 8 months. You can call me your girlfriend or a cute little pet name.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just can't believe this is real sometimes. When I downloaded Soup State, OK Caves, Hero Mingle, Farmers Only, and Plenty of Cows, I never thought I'd meet the love of my life. I'm a real lucky hero.
You really are. I just want tonight to go well, you know? If we could just get the Continuum's radar and get them to notice us, then maybe we could make it to the big times. And, no more sitting around, waiting in your old Chevy Malibu, huh?
Whoa! You better be nice about the Backmobile. She's gotten me out of a lot of sticky situations. Listen, we're gonna do great.
Honestly, I'm not sure we're ready for this. I mean, are you sure that your contacts are right about there being a bank robbery here tonight?
Oh, yeah, they get their information straight from the tap.
Okay, that was a good use of your puns. Good job, honey. And how do you know this guy has legit intel?
Oh, he sells me really good weed.
What? Wait, your drug dealer told you about this?
Whoa. He's an unlicensed pharmaceutical representative. Don't you want the Continuum to notice us? We need this. We could be heroes like Insomniac one day. We've needed our shot at the big leagues, and this is it. Have I ever steered you wrong?
So many times. I almost got thrown into a wood chipper twice last week by the angry arborist.
Shh. I think that's them pulling up in the van. Let me park. Oh, God, I hope I don't get towed again. Let's give them the blackout they'll never forget.
Hold on. Let me get the dogs out of the back.
Who let the dogs out? You. Yeah, sorry. I'll let you do the big opening this time. You got this.
Boys, we're taking you to the pound.
Hope you boys are ready for some shots.
Hope you're all ready because my bite is worse than my bark.
Welcome to Gatecrashers, a podcast dedicated to kicking open the door to your next favorite thing. Our mission, our creed, our code is this: to make all things more approachable and accessible to everyone. We want you to find a universe that you'll fall in love with. My name is Quinn. My pronouns are he, him.
And I'm Dan. My pronouns are also he, him. And Quinn, this is the finale of Capes and Cowards, season 6. And I think we're both very excited to finally talk about this book in full. So what are we covering today?
We're covering minor threats. And the back of the box blurb is that it is... So you know all the D-list supervillains, you know, like the kind of Suicide Squad types, the Stiltmen, the Killer Moths, the Captain Boomerangs, all the ones with the goofy gimmicks and all that kind of stuff. But this is about those characters, and it's in an original superhero universe. And basically the sort of Robin to this Batman, the Kid Dusk to the superhero called the Insomniac. He gets killed by this guy called the Stickman. It's kind of a Joker sort of type. And basically that causes hell for all of the other super villains living in this town of Night City and Redport, their neighborhood. And everything's getting torn apart by these superheroes who are cracking down on everything. And so a group of supervillains decide, you know what, we should just find the Stickman and we should beat his ass with hammers. We should just kill that motherfucker. And that's what they do. They go out to kill him to solve their problems.
Yeah, that's one way to solve problems. That was a really good pitch for this book. Just gotta kill all your problems.
Play with all
hammers.
the tropes of like, yep. They play with all these tropes of superhero comics. You know, it's all in sort of a loving way, though. It's not necessarily like to make fun of it. It's kind of more aware of it. It's kind of it kind of like contrasts things, and it uses like the sense of previous innocence to kind of like vamp up kind of the more violent aspects of it. And
yeah, we've got a lot to dig into with this one, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So it is written by Jordan Blum and Patton Oswalt, who co-created and show-ran MODOK on Hulu, which, rest in peace, was a fantastic show with one of the most heart-wrenching finales that anything Hulu's ever putting out. But they also wrote a comic at the same time, which was MODOK. Was it Head Games? Or is it...
yes, it was MODOK Head Games.
Damn. I was just telling you, my memory is terrible, but for Blum, it's there. But they did art with Scott Hepburn there, who has returned with them to co-create the Minor Threats universe. This book was also with colors by Ian Herring and letters by Nate Pios. I have not mispronounced the name in a long time.
Greek name.
Yeah. Nate, I'm sorry. I know you're a fantastic letterer, and I've seen a lot of your effort put into this book and all of the spinoffs and things like that. I love Nate's lettering in this book. We'll get into it more because I love the way they do boxes, but basically they co-created this universe, and it's so brilliant. Like, it's so filled with, like, as you said, like, they love comics, but it's also like kind of commenting on them and using it to tell stories. And it's just Minor Threats may be this is going to be my comic that I hand people for their first comic, because it just has all the ideas there. There's so much to like, even if you don't like superheroes or anything like that, you're gonna be like, oh, this rules.
But if you do like superheroes, you're gonna really like it.
Yeah, especially if you like if you love comics and have known like the trajectory, it's going to be a lot of like inside baseball things you'll see, and you kind of just get it, but it's still likable even if you haven't read them. But Quinn, what themes do you think this book digs into?
I think a big part of it is class, because these supervillains, they've kind of been described a lot in like all the promotional stuff as being like blue collar superheroes, sort of, or I mean blue collar supervillains. And the whole thing is that they're looked down upon and they kind of can't really get out of this type of life. You know, they're not necessarily really bad people. They don't want to like completely take over the world or like, I don't know, kill innocent people or things like that. They've got rules against that. There are lines that they don't cross. And there's like this whole thing where Frankie, the main character, her code name is Playtime, and she's got basically kind of like control over toys, and she can build things on the fly, like build all kinds of little toy gadgets and gimmicks and things like that. But there's kind of this emphasis near the beginning of how she like can't get out of this life, and it's just a really relatable thing if you've ever been kind of like trapped in a situation or trapped in a certain kind of life.
I also think change just in general is a huge theme of this book because it's like heavily commented upon throughout it, and we'll get into it when we get into the spoilers section, but it is a major theme, like just change in general for all types of people. What was the other one I wanted to change? Legacy is really big, like the changing of the guard type ideals. There's a lot of things this book digs into, and there's like, it's a full world that you're just dropped into, just assuming it has been going on for years. So it is really interesting to see like what that means for communities and the world at large. Now, we were talking about it a little bit on like who may like this, but I think this is one of those books that like you can pretty much hand to anybody and be like, hey, this is good. Like you should read this to kind of understand what people love about comics. Like it's got all those funny superhero tropes and things, but it's also like a story of someone trying to make sure their community doesn't fall apart by just being the one who has to handle the problems.
Yeah.
What lines you can or can't cross. But I also think, as you said, like it's really good for people who love comics because you can see all those like illusions and things throughout.
Yeah. And also, like you said, it's about community. It's about kind of the things that bring these characters together. Kind of what brings their lifestyle together. I think that's mostly it for themes.
Now, where would people get this?
They can get it from their local comic shop. There's a new volume that's going to be coming out very soon. You can get it from bookstores. That's where you can get the collected edition, or you can get, see, they're coming out or it's out now. The spin-off, the alternates.
The alternates comes out next month as a trade. I could be wrong though.
Yeah.
I'll put the correct dates once we get once we put this up. But with that means we can get into spoiler territory. So before you listen to this, make sure you go pick up Minor Threats Volume 1. It is out now. I know there's a subtitle for this volume, and I completely forgot. Minor Threats, what did they call Volume 1? A quick end to a long beginning.
Long beginning.
Yeah, that's the name of the first issue, I think. It is available from Dark Horse Comics. There's also the collected variant covers in the back of the volume, which are all beautiful. There's a really good Tess Fuller one, I think for issue 4. But we will see you after the jump and in the discussion section.
Honey, I think that pistol whip broke your orbital lobe.
What? Orbital lobe? My powers are whiskey, not cosmic.
No, honey, the orbital lobe is... God, never mind. Just keep holding the bag of ice on your eye, okay?
Oh, that went so badly. I didn't even realize dogs could get drunk. I'm sorry. I didn't think they were going to get caught in the whiskey wave.
I totally understand that it's your big finisher move and all, but you basically sent a wave of angry Pomeranians at them. We are officially a joke.
No, we're not. We're just doing this wrong. We gotta dust ourselves off, and we just gotta try again.
No, I am done. I told you this was the last time we tried it your way. My mother was right. We need to just hang up the capes and get real jobs. We can barely pay on our rent on a studio apartment that we share with 30 dogs.
I mean, we could just give them to the pound.
Absolutely not. Every time I call upon the canine kingdom, these dogs, they just kind of linger around after, and I can't make them leave. They are my responsibility. Do you realize how expensive dog food is?
I could just book more frat parties. They love seeing me do the water into whiskey trick and the finger gun whiskey shots.
They book you to laugh at you. Wait, did you say you can turn water into whiskey? You can control water too?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I can create and control all liquids. That's my power.
And you just use whiskey?
Well, I mean...
Why?
All the other heroes kind of had different bits, like the Rehydrator has water powers, the Fruit Puncher does fruit juice, and
you never thought that maybe your powers are stronger than just a party trick? I don't think being heroes is a viable career path. Besides, villains are the ones who get the money anyways. Only people like the Continuum really make money being heroes.
Yo, Sad Sacks, come over here.
Yo, what up, man?
Jack Daniel and Puppy Power, you're both in here every night whining about being heroes. Clearly, you're not cut out for that life. But what if there was another option?
We're all ears.
Well, word on the street is that after the whole Stickman thing, all the villains are unionizing under playtime. But I could put in a good word and get you on your way if you want.
That would mean so much. Seriously.
You're welcome, Puppy Power.
It's Parvis Canis.
The Latin's a bit pretentious.
And then we're back. All right, Quinn, where do you want to start with this book? Because I know you've written probably the most on it, just in general. I think you were one of the best reviews of this book. So, like, where do you want to start a discussion about minor threats?
I'd say with Frankie, because she's the main character. Yeah, she's kind of had like this life as a supervillain sort of thrust onto her by her mother, who was a famous supervillain, and she kind of had to be her sidekick. And a lot of it is about like kind of trying to embrace this thing that's been thrust onto you that you can't really get rid of. Because she seems kind of reluctant at first before she starts to go, you know what, fuck it. I'm good at this. Like I'm really good at this. Like I should just embrace this kind of thing and
she
keep
like,
on going on.
It clicks.
Reinvent things, make my own rules for this.
So what did you think of Frankie when we first meet her? Like she's just fresh out of jail and all those type of things. Like what was going through your head when you first were introduced to this character?
I just thought it was really relatable how she like, I don't know, could only get like these shit jobs and things like that. And I'm just sitting here like in the middle of nowhere, just I haven't finished college or anything like that. I'm like, I get that. I get being in a place that you can't get out of, because, you know, she was swept into supervillainy as like a small child. So she doesn't really have a choice. But everywhere she goes, they're like, yeah, you have a criminal record. We can't hire you to work at the Bite Burger here.
Yeah, it's so interesting to think like real world consequences for characters like this. Like if you're a superhero, you can't just undo that and get back on the right track.
Yeah.
Like as much as you want to, people aren't going to give you that chance. And like you see that clearly in this book. She goes and like applies for jobs at like how many different places and gets turned down. It's such an interesting it's just a super interesting character. The thing that I was talking to you about before is typically in these books, like when you see like the quote unquote deadbeat dad trying to get back his kid, like Death Shot, not Deathstroke. Deathstroke is keep away from children. Deadshot, his big thing is like he wants to make right for his daughter, and Frankie's in the same boat. But it's interesting to see that dynamic flipped, so it's not the dad and it's actually the mother this time who like doesn't have everything together, and like she can't be there for her kid as much as she wants to. It was really sad seeing that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really strong base for a character, and she also works at. She gets the her mother was the original Toy Queen, which is like, what would you say that team was like the golden era of superheroes, like the Super Friends style,
something like that, kind of like Silver Age, you know, like kind of a silly like they've got like a toy gimmick, they've got this whole colorful dynamic.
Yeah. And it's interesting seeing that she like got dragged into this. There's no reason for her to do any of this, but it is what it is. Like she's kind of like a pageant kid or something like that in that sense. Yeah.
Like she's this thing for like her mom to like put all of her, I don't know, to live vicariously through.
Yeah, like she wants to live
like,
through.
you need to be a supervillain now, and you're going to grow up to be like me when you grow up.
It's sad.
And she's working at this bar because it's like the only place she can kind of get work is at the supervillain bar at the lower layer.
Oh, God,
that's
lower
where
layer
we
is
get introduced
so good.
to this other colorful
Major Mummy. That's where we meet Major Mummy for the first time. Major player in this book. Huge character that everyone is really yearning for a spinoff for. Me. I want that.
Well, I mean, it feels like any one of them could get a spinoff, like any one of these characters and any one of the background guys.
I think it is a testament to Scott, the artist, because like every little character who's in the background of things or is just like hanging around in the world itself, you're like, yeah, I'd read a book about them.
Yeah.
He's just so good at designing these suits, and we'll get into that more because like the way he draws is unbelievable, but
it's incredible.
The bar itself is so fucking cool. Just like the masks that are hanging above the bar. Like you see ones, you're like, oh, that looks like Spider-Man. But like, it's just like this bar. And you go in. I don't know how much time you've spent in dive bars, but I have spent a good amount of time in them. They always have like these weird things. Like one I went to, there was a man who used to go there every day. And I don't know if he's still around, but he was when I used to go there. He had his own bar stool in the corner with his name on it. So like little things like that make up a space. And like you've got pictures of like people who used to go to the bar all the time, or like things that have been there forever, like hanging on the walls. Like I go to this bar called Jay's Elbow Room, and they've redone it. And it's a very nice bar now, but it used to be a little bit less because my grandparents used to go there when they were younger than me. They used to have this skeleton from Halloween. I don't know how many Halloweens the skeleton on the wall had been up there, but like when I would bring friends there from not out of town, they'd be like, damn, this place feels like a haunted house. I was like, yeah, it's like my haunted house. So seeing that kind of aesthetic in this world is like, yeah, these people live at this place. Like it's where you lick your wounds after your shit goes sideways. But do you spend a lot of time in dive bars or no?
No, I don't drink.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you. I don't know if I ever brought it up.
Yeah, no. Well, listen, hey, anybody can hang out in a dive bar. You don't have to drink. You can go there for the aesthetics and the company.
I want to.
Yeah, it's one more colorful character story. We were there one time, and this guy started walking past me, and I saw he had a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy tattoo, and I only knew a little bit about Hitchhikers. I haven't read the books. I've only seen the movie. I think I read the first book, but he had always the towel thing on his arm, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. He goes, fuck yeah, I love this. He pulls his shirt off in the middle of the bar to show me the other I want to say Guardians of the Galaxy, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He had like dolphins and whales, and I remember some others like all over his body, just like references to this book series that I had never read. I was just like, oh, I know that nerdy thing. That's cool. This man was like, fucking look. I was like, all right. And then my fiance ended up working with him in a bar later. I was like, oh my God, that's him. He was real. It wasn't a figment of my imagination. But I know you have a favorite character we meet in the bar. Do you want to talk about them for a second before we talk more about
yeah,
our cast?
it's Shit Eater. They're the local barfly. He's a fly. He's a guy, hangs out, and he can't think of anything that rhymes with flying guy that'd be relevant there. But yeah, he'll be there until he dies.
He's punk rock.
Yeah, and he doesn't have his wings. His wings got torn off by the Searcher, according to the art in back of the book, which is like incredible. You get more of like Scott's really good stuff. Scott Hepburn's
God, Scott is so
really
fucking
good material
good.
there in the back. But there's all kinds of like notes, and there's all kinds of things about like he's even got like costumes for some of the thugs. I guess we can't use the word goons anymore because that's
No, we prefer not to
associated with
goon on
other
this
things
pod.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. We had to figure that out last week because we were playing a tabletop game and we kept saying goon, but we were using it to see how far we could push our GM, who is a saint. Poor man is listening to us go back and forth about gooning.
Dude, it makes me feel good.
Jake was singing something the other night. Some song. Oh, everybody goons sometimes. Just like full volume the entire time we were trying to play Call of Duty, and it's just so hard to concentrate because it's like that's really funny, but like, please stop. But yeah, like every character that populates this world fucking rules. Like I love them all. Like I'm so excited to keep seeing more. We will keep seeing more because we're getting a volume 2. We've already got one spinoff, and you're gonna get more minor threats, and it's the best.
There are these two stick boys, these two thugs, these two henchmen.
There you go. Henches. I think henches is the word we use now.
Yeah, and Scott has these like alternate designs for these costumes for like what they were before. They were like themed henchmen, and just like it's cool that they have like these whole like alternate personas that you never even get to see in the comic. I don't know. It's just that there's an immense like attention to detail. There's immense attention to detail, like Frankie's costume over time. Like there's one when she's like a little kid, and then kind of like as she gets older, and then the one in this series, and then the one for the next not season, the next volume.
Next
like
season,
we've seen that on covers and everything.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
And so this whole bar that kind of brings us to Brain Tease. He's another fixture of this bar, and he's basically like the Riddler if he had other things to do besides like leaving trophies all over and just annoying the hell out of you.
Riddler seems like a big gooner.
Actually, I could imagine him doing that. I could imagine him leaving like
gooning.
Here's my little brain. Brain Tease.
Yeah,
hiding things all over the
in the Redport. What is it?
Twilight City.
Redport City video game. God, I fucking hate the Riddler.
Yeah.
So I would beat the shit out of the Riddler in real life.
Yeah.
I'd love to fight him.
I keep saying like that's what they need to. That's what would win people over to the Suicide Squad game if you just like kill Riddler.
Yeah, just shoot him. Like not even like
if you just like I hit all these trophies all over the map. Can you find? And you just like shoot him in the head, and he's just,
I'm playing it. I really like it. I've been having a lot of fun, but I know that's not what everybody thinks. The live service stuff sucks, but the traversal is so much fun.
I was so excited, and then
I get it. So
I'll get it on sale probably.
Yeah, we meet. Oh my god, I just blanked.
Brain Tease,
but we also meet Pigeon Pete, who is introduced. I mentioned Major Mummy for a minute, but Major Mummy is just a man in like a full like military coat with all these like little like badges of honor or whatever I don't know, military. Yeah. I like the notches and things like that all over, but he's got a what do you call that? A knock. What's the symbol that Dr. Fate uses? It's a knock, isn't it?
I think that's it. Yeah. He's
He has
got that on like his like drill
on his little
instructor
drill
hat.
instructor hat. But he's a fucking mummy. It rules. It's just like, I don't think you see him much. You only see him in this and like another couple of panels, but I just want to know more about Major Mummy. But that's how we meet Pigeon
Yeah.
Pete. Because he says, "Get fucked, Pete." And I was like, yeah, this is my kind of book. Pigeon Pete is like a classic villain. He's like Adam West days, like Batman style. He listens to pigeons. He doesn't talk to pigeons because he clarifies it later, but he's just like this, I'll get you next time. Like he's been around Frankie since she was little, and he's like big on the code of crooks of like not to like betray each other and not do they actually list out what the code is? Can't remember if they do.
I don't remember.
But basically they live by like a moral code. So like she is been ingrained with that by him, which is important later.
Yeah. And like the code is the reason they don't just like shoot the superheroes or anything like that. It's kind of like this
like
way
an honor
of
among
life is the only
thieves.
thing that really like sustains them. Like they kind of like need this as like an outlet for just doing what they do and dealing with being who they are.
If you push the balances in one way or another, like everything is off. But right now, because of the code, hero beat villain go jail, villain get out, villain do again. And it's just been like that. But
then Kid Dusk dies and Insomniac is just like, fuck it, I'm gonna murder some people.
He doesn't just die, doesn't he get his throat slit? Like something's like hard.
His head punched off.
Oh, that's later. No, what is Kid Dusk? Is that his name?
Kid Dusk.
Kid Dusk gets his throat slit, right?
I think so. But then he gets displayed later on. He gets put in like one of those like kind of mobile wheelchair kind of scooter things.
The scooter. Yeah, but
and he Stickman like drives him around.
Stickman kills him and it throws off. It basically is Joker killing Robin, Batman losing his shit, like going from 0 to 100.
Yeah,
and that's like where we find the beginning of our story. We also get Snake Stalker, who is essentially like Rhino, like a man stuck in a suit, but I don't think he might be stuck or not. He's in a giant snake suit. He's like their muscle guy, but he's very large, and he comes into the bar with his friend in his arms in the classic Crisis on Infinite Earth Superman holding Superwoman pose, like that cover, and is like, you need to help, and he gets the help of Scalpel. Do you want to talk a little bit about Scalpel?
Yeah, she's like this cold kind of character. Not cold as in like literal ice powers, because I mean that could be a possibility in this kind of thing. But no, she's like the evil kind of equivalent of like Night Nurse or something like that. One of the sort of medical superhuman kind of people.
Does Night Nurse have powers? I only know her from the Daredevil stuff.
I think so.
I genuinely have no idea about Night Nurse other than the television program. And you're deeper in the Marvel territory than I am.
This one I don't know. That was something I was thinking though, when you're like, it's the Superman crisis pose. I'm like, no, it's not. It's the Cyclops pose holding.
Is it Jean Grey? Which one's older?
I don't know. That's a good question. But like, that's just the one that I know it as.
Yeah.
Because it's the same.
It's because you're a fucking nerd. Yeah, it is. It is exactly the same. That's not a good way to hold a body. Oh, it's a dramatic way to hold a body.
Yeah.
Well, now I need to know, is it... What year did... I'm going to be so annoyed if I can't remember this. What year did Dark Phoenix Saga come out?
Yeah.
It's fine. You can keep talking about Scalpel. I'm going to find the answer to this.
Yeah. But anyways, we then learn like she has this whole traumatic backstory. There's a guy who killed her dad, but she helps him out for the money. and it's kind of like she feels like she's selling out. She does it anyways, and it's pretty tragic.
Yeah, you're right. You were right.
It's a lot.
Crisis didn't come out till like 10 years later. Huh.
Oof.
You can see where, mime DC. Interesting. But yeah, the whole team is consisting of those people, and they have joined together to go after Stickman, who sucks. But the one thing, like, this is probably my third reread of the series, and change is one of the major things that came to mind, because there is a page where we get a flashback to Kid Dusk and Insomniac catching a younger Frankie, and Insomniac says, "You've been out of the scene for quite some time, Frankie, around 9 or so months. You're slower, like your body's been healing. Your reflexes are stilted, maybe from the lack of sleep. I'm a little older than you, so I can tell you, life rarely offers up second chances. But when they come, you can either run towards hope and love or succumb to your worst destructive forces. The ability to actually change is short-lived. Eventually, we just become who we really are." And like, that is so interesting that he said that to her. So like, is he becoming what he always was meant to be with this like hardened killer? But it's just interesting. Like he essentially gave her that second chance to become something else. And we both know that's not where she goes.
Yeah. And also something I love about the flashbacks is that they're colored so that it looks like they're on like yellowing paper. Like it looks like they're on older sort of comic pages that have just like kind of changed over time.
I think
it's just really cool.
For one, at some point I knew the naming of all the paper because it was something that interested me. I think it was newspaper. I'm probably wrong, but it's like a newspaper fineness to it. Now they use like a matte. Jake would know better than I would, being that he's worked in printing. But like those little things is what's like what makes this the next level like book for me.
Yeah.
Like it's so many little attentions to detail, like not even just for everyone, but for like comic fans, it's like, this is like, we love comics. And Jordan, I was talking to him earlier about something else we're going to get into, but he said he and Patton wrote it like we'd never be allowed to write a comic again because it was like, let's get it out. And they knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yeah. And it's just the world of it. Oh, go ahead.
No, all you.
Okay. I was just going to say the world of it is so cool because like Twilight City is kind of a place where nothing really ever gets fixed after all these big battles and everything like that. So you've got like apartments that are built into kaiju bones where like the superheroes like kill the giant monster and just left
such
it
a
there.
Good visual.
And there's like a place that was like messed up by like a battle with a sort of King the Conqueror type character. And so basically time is all messed up there, and you go in there and like flashes into all these different like art styles and like universes, and there's like a baby universe, and there's
a
going like back and forth in time.
At the beginning of every issue, you get a map of, I think this is Redport. You just get like a map of the world, and there's like a void, McDouglas Station, hibernating elder god. Like what? And then there's the place you were talking about, the just displacement of time. They just leave it. Like there's just cops set up there to just make sure nobody runs in there. Yeah. But it is so interesting how they've built this world. But the kaiju thing, that it's one of my favorite things. The Pacific Rim is just like there's these giant monsters that die and they just have to build around them. And I love seeing that in something like this because like canonically Godzilla was in Marvel Comics for a bit. Because they didn't he become Fing Fang Foom because they couldn't use Godzilla anymore?
I think they made a separate monster for him where they're like, yeah, this was our Godzilla.
So wild. Like, and just having that like kind of stuff in here and seeing the world affected by things that came before that we never saw is just like you believe it because you're like, oh, this is a superhero world. That's how it works. But in reality, you think one of these heroes could probably get rid of the bones, but it's why would they? Because it's not like the nice part of the city. Like it's like, why would we waste our time? They've just built around it, and there's some really good visuals of that part of the world. I think when Frankie first goes to see her daughter, like you can see it in the background. It is just so. Oh no, that's a giant mech that things are built into in that scene. So it's a trailer park built in layers on a Gundam, and there's literally, you can't see my hands right now, but there's a Gundam holding a trailer in its hand, and it's so fucking cool to see because there's trees growing through it and all that kind of stuff.
You'll notice something new like every time you look at this book.
Yes.
There's always some new character or some little detail in the background that you didn't catch the last time that you read it.
In the lower layer of the bar, is there a monster on the second floor just like living there? Because when you see like
it's
a
like
shot
giant,
of the bar,
like carnivorous plant or something,
yeah, that's
like
just
that.
kind of shoved in there.
Yeah. Like they had some kind of like poison ivy thing happen, and like it just
moved in.
got left there.
Yeah. It is so interesting how in the first volume of something, a world is completely fleshed out like this. Like typically we know it's built on a lot of the tropes we know from other superhero stuff, but it's just so fucking good. I was just looking at the trophy room nightclub page because there's a character that's clearly like referencing Craven, I assume. But what do they call him? The Gentleman Hunter or something? The Gentleman Game Warden. And he's like,
he's got like a time travel element thrown in there, or
yeah,
like a dimensional kind of.
What is Jumanji? Is that where the British guy comes out of the book and hunts down Robin Williams?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. But like he's like that classic quote unquote adventurer where it was just like a rich douchebag who would go and hunt down exotic animals. And then he like has this gigantic fucking like gun. And we know he's not really based super on Craven because he turns it on himself. Yes.
He's got like the giant shoulder pads and the gun and the like all kinds of belts, and like he's got all this shit strapped onto him. He's
so good. Yeah, he's got like clocks on. God, it's just like this character is on like 4 or 5 pages. Oh, Kill Pig rules. They also, what is it, like a gladiatorial pit?
Yeah.
Like in this club.
And they just have these like lower level fighters like fighting they've got these lower level heroes like fighting to the death. And I love this part so much because like I think I mentioned this in the other podcast that we did for this in the interview, but there's like so many stories that try to do the Mos Eisley thing where it's like, oh yeah, look at this area full of all these weird characters. And a lot of times it just feels really artificial and it feels like they're trying to fill it in. But here you just get a million different characters, and it's like every single one of them has a sort of story behind them.
Yeah. And like even like just small details, like there's a cat lady, but the way her face is, it looks like it's magnified. Like her eyes are super big for some reason. I'm like, what happened? Like,
yeah.
Scott is so fucking good at comics. And
There's
we've gotten to see
gnome guys, but he's got like a little hover chair and he's like an elder kind of.
We've gotten to see some of his inks. What was our last interview with them? But he showed us like just pages before they were colored. And it's like, there is so much in every one of these pages that he just does. And I know one thing you talked with him about is the graffiti that's all over the world. If you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, there's all kinds of references. There's all kinds of sort of storytelling and all of it, and it's just like you can find Shit Eater's name like carved into a bathroom stall, and like a scene that's not even close to where when you actually see him. Just like you get the sense that there's like the presence of all these characters and all these other tiny little bits of the town.
It's just like a fully. I keep coming back to it, but I'm like. Minor Threats is probably one of my favorite comics that I've ever read. And like, I'm friends with Jordan, and like, I've said this to him, like, if your book sucked, I would tell you, but I keep finding myself coming back here. And one of the later issues, Frankie gets shot and they have to, basically take the bullet out. And we get to see kind of how Scalpel works. And it's like her issue. Each issue is kind of broken up with a character, and it's like goes deeper into them, except Snake Stalker, which will make sense later. And But when you see Scalpel like really look at a body, and Scott told us that he did, one of his friends is a medical student or something, and he was talking about,
That was Patton. Patton was
oh, was it
talking about,
Patton?
like, the
Yeah, someone was
relatives.
telling us about
Yeah.
like how this page came about, of like showing all of the pieces of Frankie's body like x-rayed, but just kind of saying what the things are, like pulse good, like sorry, I'm just looking at the page and just kind of a loss for words.
Where
Like
you
it's
can tell
so
like
good.
her veins and her muscles and guts and stuff like that, and it's
And like some of them are just like veins and stuff are reworked into words throughout her body, and it's just like, this page is so fucking good. It's just like seeing how he displays powers in this book is so interesting. What did you think about how he displayed Brain? Like, what did you think of Brain Teaser's issue? Like how they show how his powers are kind of working in his head.
I really liked it. I really it's so cool. And I love how like he'll throw like the Kirby crackle into things, and he'll do like, it's just, the whole thing's like just a love letter to superhero comics.
I do love that Brain Teaser's like his powers are like, you know, like the Sherlock Holmes like movie where he like stops and he like looks around the room and is like, oh, I'll do this, and then this. Brain Tease kind of has that, but he still gets his ass beat. Like he does that, but like he's not the smartest man in the room typically.
And he'll be like, oh, I lost this much vomit and this much blood and from getting beaten up, and there's my tooth, and there's like,
I need to go to the
the
emergency
mathematical
room.
signs of I'm getting my ass kicked.
The flashback pages with like the different kind of coloring and art style. I'm just sorry, I just looked at one. You talked about it earlier, but just seeing how comics have progressed through the different ages is so cool because it's on display here. But the references are like unlimited. Now I'm still kind of taken aback that the Superman is probably a reference to the Cyclops one, but when you see Insomniac holding Kid Dusk, it looks like when Damian first died and Batman was holding him. I want to say it's in Ink, but it may have been in Batman and Robin. Can't remember what issue where he's like holding him to his chest crying, because he does it again with like just the cape. Those little things are like, hey, I know that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just, goddamn. When they're fighting, when they go through the like time warp reality thing, just the effort to show these different weird realities they walk through is so cool. Don't they do it to get away from what is her name?
The ring from the Searcher.
Yeah, the Searcher, who's like their Superman. But she has more powers than Superman.
Yeah.
And they basically are like, fuck it, we're just going to go through. And at one point they show like the inks of the actual page. So it's very funny to like see them break that fourth wall. God, it's so good. There is the one thing I picked up this time that I don't really think I knew it was there, but I never really like dug into it, is the old ways thing that Pigeon and Stickman talk about, because Pigeon is one of those classic villains who's just trying to like rob banks and stick up stores and like do those kind of things. But we see him basically going to steal a Fabergé egg. I think that's what they're called, like the fancy eggs for some reason. And he's going to steal it. You see him with his like little like bag to bring it home with, and it is jammed into the skull of the security guard with like a note on it. And that's when he realized, oh yeah, it says free to a good owner. Just his head is like sliced off and it's in the dude's brain. And it's just like, this is where I realized things were changing. Like we weren't going by these old ways. And it's such an interesting kind of, because the Joker was at one point like, funny fish and stuff, but now he's trying to blow up Gotham City like every other week. Like he's
cutting his own face off, and
he's shooting Barbara Gordon. Like that wasn't supposed to be canon. But I was texting Jordan about it because I was like, dude, I never like really picked up on this theme And he was like, think about it. How jarring this is an exact quote. How jarring would it be for a silver or bronze age character to suddenly find themselves in a Frank Miller comic and be like, we're just killing people now? What the fuck? Like jumping from like the Dark Knight Returns, like that's how comics kind of were like, and Watchmen too. It's just like, we don't have to be that. We can tell a story without having everyone die all the time. But that's not what people were interested in after that, because you see so many things spiral from that, and the change in the villains from being like more like the rogues, like the Flash's rogues, who are kind of fun and like, at the end of the day, they're not trying to hurt anybody, to like Green Goblin, who's like eviscerating groups of people. And like, how do you break that? Like, how do you go to a Frankie at this point who like uses toys and do the same thing to her that you're going to do to someone like, again, the Green Goblin, who, this is a Shocker or Rhino or like any of those characters. Like, how do you beat them up when you're also got people like Doc Ock and Green Goblin who are like killing as many people as they can? Like, it's a very weird dynamic to be those lower rung characters.
And the D-listers are the ones that always die a lot. They're the ones that the Punisher blows up or shoots up or stuff like that until someone forgets that they died, and luckily we get them back.
Yeah.
I love how that happens. People will just kind of like forget that they died or forget that the Punisher like killed them, and they'll just beat back. And it's like, yeah, we got 8-Ball back. We got the eel.
They're bringing back Max. Did you see that? I think I'm the only one who's excited. Big Garth Ennis guy. I
think the only difference though between that and like the parental advisory is that they're allowed to say fuck.
Really?
I think so. And they haven't had a Max comic for like, because like there was a parental advisory one for a lot of ones. Occasionally they'll do it for like X-Force. They did one for a Jessica Jones one. They were allowed to say shit in it.
What was that?
But they weren't allowed to say fuck.
Exterminators. Didn't they?
Yeah, that's parental advisory.
Yeah. Yeah, was Max a response to the comics code?
No, Max came out after they did X-Force Ecstatics. Like the Milligan run was the first one to do it without the code. They got to like kill everyone and have everything be all bloody. And
it is interesting.
Max came out like shortly after that, is like early 2000s.
But like, why? I know there's got to be a story of why Max started compared to the other stuff. I mean, was it just Ennis mostly? Because I know Palmiotti did a lot of it. Ennis. Knights is probably what I'm thinking about. Marvel Knights, wasn't that another? Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, like basically things changed. Like villains weren't what they were before, and things just kept getting more complicated. So it's this kind of sociopath in Stickman with Pigeon. I keep calling him Pigeon Guy, Pigeon Pete, who are like very different levels of villain. Like one wants to be a crook and one wants to. He literally killed Kid Dusk and all of the other Insomniac's rogues because he only wanted it. What did he say? A monogamous relationship or something. It was a good bit.
Yeah,
but
they take the whole like the dynamic of Batman and the Joker, like especially in things like the Lego Batman movie, where they reframe it as like a relationship and kind of like run with that.
God, Lego Batman is such a good film.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like it's not the same level. And then Pigeon Pete betrays them because he had been approached, because he got his ass beat by some young like villains. They were basically messing with him, and then they beat him up in an alley, which is like really sad. Like they were just doing some sort of initiation. But then Stickman stepped in and separated his jaw from his body. And he was just kind of there to like kind of get in and start all of this. But it's just kind of sad. Like, it's just sad. Like the person that Frankie trusted the most betrayed her. Because his way of life was over. Like, it was like the end of like the Red Dead Redemption. Like, it's all about the end of the cowboy. Like, this is the end of the crook. Like, there's not room for that anymore because you changed this. Like, these people have pushed it over the edge. I think my favorite thing from that big scene is when Insomniac shows up and they've already killed Stickman. And instead of being like, good job, he was like, that was my kill.
Yeah.
And goes fucking nuts. What was your like thoughts about that whole conundrum?
I thought that was more like into the class sort of thing, because like he's one of the big name superheroes and Stickman's one of the big name supervillains, and he's like, you guys don't fit into this equation. You're not supposed to get involved in this. Like, you're not supposed to be here. And he's just kind of like insulted that they would have the audacity to kill his nemesis.
Yeah. It is interesting that they like he's just like, no, you aren't good
You're
enough.
not
Like,
important.
yeah, you're not important. I should have been the one doing this. And it's like more people would not die because we did this, but it's not about that to him. It's like it's his it's vengeance. Like, it's the full Batman. Like, oh wait, but it's turned on to this one guy, and they try to stop him. How's that go?
Yep. They pop his fucking head off.
Yeah.
But first he kills Snake Stalker, and it's
so Snake Stalker. When we first met him, was carrying his friend's body, who was alive. Like, he was just like trying to get medical help, but it turned like we knew that Insomniac is the one that was doing it to him, and Diego Salas is his name, because he says this is for Diego, and then Insomniac is like, that name means nothing to me, and you mean even less. And then he just snaps his neck, and you're like, oh fuck, like that. We love him. Why? And then Frankie gets her mom's gun that she'd been complaining about earlier in the series, that the Insomniac still had in his case. And it's just like it's a boxing glove gun.
Punching glove.
Yeah. And
bops his head off.
Yeah, Insomniac is like, I guess the Stickman was right. The old ways are over. And Frankie's like, the old ways work just fine. Then she uses like this old goofy gun to commit a murder. And it's like, these things can still work.
Pigeon Pete hits him with the car first. He takes like his Batmobile. I think it's like the Dreammobile or something like that.
Because he always wanted to steal.
He like takes the car, he smashes it into it. He's like, I always wanted to drive that thing, But at the same time, it's like too late for him to really be redeemed. He's just like keeping them from not dying. But they're like, we can't forgive you after that. Like, you sold us out. You
broke the code.
Died because of you. Yeah.
And like, as much as
Frankie's the only one that matters. Like, you can keep her alive, but if you want to kill the rest, then kill the rest. And she's not okay with that. She's like, you can't sell out my friends like that.
I love that.
And they're all a lot closer by the end. Like in the beginning, they have like a lot of animosity towards each other, and they don't. You'd kind of expect something like that from kind of a group of misfits or something like that, but they kind of don't have any respect for each other. They kind of like Brain Tease just laughs off playtime. Like, she's like, yeah, you're not on the same level as I am. But then they all have this mutual respect at the end after they've gone through other stuff, and they've gone through superheroes and supervillains, and everyone basically just trying to kill them.
And I think it's really like what you're like. Even though so much has changed, these people, like the ones that end up at the end, still live by that code of like, we have to help each other. Like, this is about us, not about the heroes, not about that. And because Pigeon Pete broke that, they don't kill him. They let him live, but he's exiled, which is like even worse because like now he's got nothing.
Yeah. And like you'd imagine that he's kind of in the same situation as Playtime, where it's like, where is he going to get a job? Where is he going to, like, he can't do any of that. Like, this is the only life that he has. So once he's cut off of it, and there's nothing for him on the outside.
It's so good. But then it ends with Frankie going back to the bar, and Mommy's got to work tonight. After she like puts her kid to bed, like we see that they're getting better. Her kid has the power as well. We see that.
Yeah.
But basically she's like, I'm here to send a message to some hero they have locked. Oh, this is the hero from earlier that they almost got caught when they were riding the bus. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, he beats up the weather guy, and think one of them beats up Major Mummy. I think it might be
The speedster.
no. That was the speedster. That was Impulse, or
Yeah, I can't remember
I'm
his.
forgetting his name.
Yeah, but basically, she made a deal with. I keep forgetting the superhero's name, the Superman character's name.
Searcher. The
Searcher.
Continuum.
Basically, they were like,
Continuum. Yeah.
yeah, the Continuum. Basically, with the Continuum was like, hey, if you don't bother Redport at all and let me do what I want to do, then we won't tell the world that your friend was a raving, murderous lunatic. And they're like, okay,
Yeah, because at the end they do like what they can to like preserve the image of, of him being like this good sort of like Batman-esque figure. But kind of in their circle, they know that he wasn't, that he just kind of became this bastard and he just like fell off the deep end after his sidekick died.
and it's so interesting because like they're trying to keep things the same by lying, by like hiding this horrible thing that could have been way worse. And like, who knows if like another one of them isn't. So the Continuum in this are not evil. They're not the Seven. They're not anything like that. They're just tired.
Yeah.
They've been doing this for so long that they're like, just like, we just want to do our job and go home. It's not fun.
Yeah.
So it's just
and that's a big
like,
part of how they're just able to like strike a deal with them. They're just kind of like, you know what, just do whatever you want. Like on the side there, they're kind of like parents.
yeah. And it's so it's very interesting. A dynamic shift for Frankie from the beginning of like, we met this character who was like kind of lost. Now is like, fuck it. I'm running the show now. Like it hasn't been going well. I'm running this now.
Yeah.
And the end page,
and she's got like, and like the people who are like making fun of her in the beginning are like the patrons of the bar of the lower layer. They were making fun of her at first, and now they're like serving her and being like, "What do you want? What do you need?" Yeah,
like to the point where one of them, this caught me. Here's your usual, chilled at 8 minutes, like you said. Like like they're like waiting on her hand and foot.
Yeah.
And
also Brain Tease like takes the fall, which is the funniest thing. Like he gets arrested because he's like, yeah, I killed Insomniac and I killed his rival.
He's always wanted the glory of it though. Yeah. Because like in the beginning you see him trying to change out other people's stuff on the wall for his news clippings.
Yeah.
And it's just like he wants the glory, and he got it. He stopped the big good and the big bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all so good. What other things you want to touch on? Like I don't have much else that I want to dig into now because I do want to talk a little bit about something else at the end. But what else about this book is like sticks out for you?
I think that's it. I think, like I mentioned before, the universe is so big and it's something that you want to see more of. And you do get to, we've got like the spin-off, we've got the alternates. Maybe we'll mention that another time. Maybe we'll have an episode for that. I don't know.
The alternates I fucking love. And I hate crabs.
Yeah.
I want to get into that. I've got an interview I need to put out about that book. But you and I have read the beginning of volume 2. And without going into spoilers or anything, do you feel safe saying that this book is only like this series is only getting better?
Yeah.
There is so much stuff in the first issue that it's just like, oh shit, this is exactly the way I want this to go.
I remember when we were first looking at the pages, like during the interview, and just like, there's the thing, and there's the reference to the thing, and like the page where they're like doing the.
Oh God, I'm so excited for everyone to get to read this book. So make sure you're ordering it from your local comic book shops so you can get it on time. There are some sick variant covers for the new books. But other than that, thank you for listening. This is the end of season 6. We will be back next month with our next season. Thank you for sticking with us. Just a reminder, there's no episode next week because we are taking next month off to get the next season prepared. So, from Quinn and I, thank you for listening. You can find us at gatecrashers.fan, where all of our reviews, analysis, and all the other things we do are available. Quinn has some very interesting stuff coming that he was telling me about before the show. It is like the stuff that I love our website for, is because we get into it. We have some very cool stuff, but I don't want to tell everybody what you're doing.
Yeah, we got the kind of stuff that you'll find nowhere else, except for maybe like Comics XF, when like Robert Secundus is doing his like review of fish sandwiches.
Yeah,
we
just find weird
it's kind
things.
of in the same vein, something like that. It's like something no one else is ever gonna talk about.
We just want to talk about the weird things that make us happy, and we do that, and we get to share that with you. God, I fucking love Minor Threats, dude. I cannot get over how good this fucking book is.
Yeah, and
like, sure, Patton,
I love how they do the spin-offs, so that allows Scott to have enough time to do every one of them, so that they don't have to get like a fill-in artist or anything like that.
Scott is so fucking good. Like, I can't say that enough. Like, just
like you don't have Minor Threats without him.
Yeah. It's God, the designs he has are so good. But we will see you next time. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
It's me again. Okay, maybe I was too hard on those two. When they flip teams to play for the Crooks, things turn around pretty quickly. Bach and Parvis Corvus. That's Bert's. Man, it's because I bragged about the last two times being pretty quick. All right. That's all full. Whatever. It's me again. Okay, maybe I was too hard on those two. When they flip teams to play for the Crooks, things turn around pretty quickly. Bach and Parvis Canis took over most of the block near the 10th Street police checkpoint. It's actually pretty nice after they kicked the cops off the block. Now, instead of pigs patrolling the streets, it's a bunch of fat little pugs. They're super chunky, but don't piss them off, or I promise you that you'll come home missing a chunk. Bach, runs the docks nearby. Turns out that absolute dumbass can control entire bodies of water, so he literally controls what comes in and out of his dock. They're sitting pretty comfortably in a penthouse. Anyway, that's all the gatecrashers could afford to pay. So I'm going back to my other job. An audiobook narrator for the hardcore MODOK fanfiction. It's where the big money's at.
Hey, babe. Do you ever think we were meant for more?
Meant for more? I've eaten pizza for the last 5 days in a row.
No, honey. I meant like life. We always give our kick up to Frankie for our schemes and any money we take in.
Well, yeah, that's because it's the rules.
Okay, but listen to what you just said. Rules. Like these criminals play by some code or something. That kind of shit is for the funny books.
Are you saying we should, take over?
I'm just saying it's worth a shot.
Haha, a shot. I get it, because Bach. But, yeah, I'm in. Let's rule Twilight City with a wave of crime like they've never seen before. You
okay? You okay? Cough it up.
Yeah, sorry, it was just a pepperoni.